Well, I've managed to finally pass 250 subs. I'm currently at 252, though I'm sure I'm going to lose a whole bunch coming up soon if they do that, implement those changes that remove idle or dead viewers. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. But for this video, this is more about this claim I keep hearing that, that a god is required for laws of logic, the laws of physics and whatnot. That it has, the whole idea there has to be a lawgiver, for these things to be true. The problem is, as I've stated in a previous video, these things are simply concepts. They're, the law of non-contradiction is essentially, all it really is we observe it. It's what we understand, what we see happening in the world. There is no somebody making sure that something is both not something and something at the same time, preventing it from happening. Even if there was no God or no observers, let's assume for a second here that no sentient beings existed in this universe. These things would still be there. These things would still be the way they are. I don't quite get this idea. How would an apple suddenly both be an apple and not be an apple if there's no observer? It doesn't make sense. And even if in another universe or this universe the laws of logic were different or didn't exist, there would still be some form of logic. It would just be foreign to us. Just like the laws of physics. There couldn't be true chaos, I don't really think, because there would become patterns. There would become, the universe from the Big Bang to us happened entirely through chemistry, physics, and whatnot. These things don't require a god to set them, because whatever settings there was, if the settings could even be different, or it mattered if they were different, they would still follow the new sets of principles or whatever. These things, it's the interactions between all of the cosmological constants and such that create the universe and create these so-called laws of physics and laws of logic. It's their interaction. They're not all independent. They don't act independently on their own without. They all act together. And each one, a change to one, changes the rest in how it acts and it reacts. These are emergent properties based upon these things. Like I said, these are simply concepts. Laws of physics, laws of physics is our concept, our description of what we observe. But it doesn't make it any more, that it has to be this way, or that you need somebody to create it that way. Just as chemistry doesn't require a god to make sure that when I combine two chemicals together every single time I'm going to get the same chemical reaction. It's the interaction and the chemical and chemistry that these things naturally have that creates the end product. Same way as the universe or whatever. You can all argue, I would disagree, but you could still argue that God created the universe. But it's different from, they're requiring, some being is required for logic or these things to affect. No, these things all do it on their own. They're emergent properties of the universe, nature, whatever. You know, these things don't require some God. And I always find it rather laughable. And I think this is just an example of people really trying too hard to shoehorn God into something rather than actually thinking about it. Because no atheist is going to be convinced by this. And you're just going to get mocked and laughed at for trying to create such asinine ideas like this. You know, just because this is what you think it is or how it should be or is required doesn't necessarily mean that it is. Think about these things. Think about what you're actually saying rather than just simply parroting what sounds good. It's like the cosmological argument, all these other ones. Somebody says it's this great argument, and anybody that doesn't believe in it is just face palming and saying, "What the fuck, guys? Grow up! You stop using such a stupid argument." But it sounds good to those already convinced, but to everybody else, it's laughable. So just think about what you're saying and try to think about it from an outside perspective before you use it. Comment below if you agree or disagree, or if you have any other examples that you think are similar.